is the WIAT Red Zone, brought to you by Pepsi.
The master meets the Padawan. Jim McElwain was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator, won 2 national titles with the Tide. Tomorrow, he's the enemy. It's Florida and Alabama, the winner crowned SEC champions.
History is rich between these two programs. They lead the league with the most appearances in the SEC championship game. Florida with 11, Alabama with 10, and they will meet for the 8th time, which also tops the list.
So here's the thing. Does Jim McElwain know enough about Alabama and their secrets? We're going to get to that in a second to maybe, perhaps, expose the Tide, and we're also going to get some expert opinions on that topic, too.
Ooh, it's a mystery game here. I'm Lauren Sisler, Chris Brees, no mystery here. We're on the WIT 42 Red Zone to talk all things SEC Championship. We'll also get to the Super 7 coming up later on in the show. But first, let's talk about Jim McElwain. He's the guy that's going to be standing across the sidelines from Alabama head coach Nick Saban tomorrow. It's his protege. McElwain in his first season as head coach for the Gators. McElwain spent 2008 to 2011 under Saban as the Tide's offensive coordinator. McElwain took him and that process with him that helped him have a successful run at Colorado State before returning back to the SEC.
You always hate to see them go to the next spot, but you're always happy to see them fulfill their professional goals and aspirations by getting an opportunity to be a head coach. And you always watch and hope that they do well. And you're very proud of them when they do well.
So does Jim McElwain know Nick Saban's deepest, darkest secrets? Is there any way the Gators can thwart that Tide plan that no other coach could possibly know about? Well, McElwain did not bite when we asked him about that.
There really aren't any secrets. That honestly, it's something that's out there for everybody in this room, for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. To be successful, they aren't secrets. Now, they're qualities that take a lot of discipline and self-drive.
And how about this? Today marks the 1-year anniversary that McElwain became Florida's head football coach. Not a bad place to be in your first year in one of college football's toughest conferences, and not a bad place for the Florida Gators either, who have not been here at the SEC Championship since 2009.
It's been so much fun seeing the development of the program, of our players, of the people around the program. And when you sit back and reflect just a little bit, we've come a long ways, but how far we're going to go is what's probably the most exciting part of it.
Okay, when you look at the line of this football game, right now Florida comes in as a 17-point underdog, which has a lot of people writing them off, saying Alabama's going to come in here and dominate. But really, ultimately, what needs to happen if the Gators want a chance to win here?
The experts we talked to today said one thing, it's simple. Florida has to throw crazy things at Alabama, and they got to do it very early. Nick Saban, he said the exact same thing. He expects Florida to throw something random at him out of the box, get the Tide off balance, and honestly, that might be what Florida needs to have any kind of shot. 17 to 18 point spread, backup quarterback. Saban will be ready, though. You can count on that.
It's always the possibility, because when you're a defensive player, every time you line up, you don't know what's coming. If you play offense, you call the play in the huddle, or they hold up, I guess, not in this day and age. When I played, you got in the huddle, but now they hold up a sign or something that tells everybody what the formation in the play is, and everybody sort of creates the action. So on defense, you really never know what the play is going to be.
And you also got to look at this. No matter what Florida throws at Alabama, they've got a guy on the other sideline who's going to take anything you can get from him, because Derrick Henry, every single week we're talking about a record.
And what's crazy about it, just when you thought Derrick Henry couldn't get any better, he just gets better. He shatters those record books. It happened last weekend against Auburn, believe it or not. 271 yards, a record-breaking performance, a career high, 46 carries on that. Of course, Nick Saban said this week, 46 carries, not by design. He wants other guys to step in. But in the meantime, Derrick Henry doesn't mind carrying the weight, because all he cares about is winning games for his team. But how do you stop a selfless force like DH?
His size, not only height, obviously how he carries the weight that he carries. But here's the amazing thing is the amount of yards after somebody had first tried to tackle him. And I said tried because they weren't very successful.
You can just hear McElwain, the respect he has for Derrick Henry. But give Florida credit. They've played Dalvin Cook, Florida State, Leonard Fournette, LSU, two Heisman kind of guy running backs. But really, the big difference might be how good Alabama's offensive line is. So Derrick Henry becomes that much harder to stop.
He's a bigger back. He's a power back. But we've played against Fournette, played against Cook. If we can play against them, no reason we can't play against Derrick Henry.
Now, Florida not scoring a lot of points as of late, so they've got to find a way to keep Alabama from scoring points. That will be a big key for the Gators, according to CBS analyst Rick Neuheisel.
I think their defense will certainly make it a game. We saw that happen last week in the Iron Bowl. And if they can create any big plays with a guy like Antonio Callaway, we saw what he did against Tennessee. I mean, they threw for 125 yards. I know Will Grier is the quarterback, but they threw for 125 yards on fourth down alone in that ball game. Think about how many fourth downs they can afford to go for in this kind of environment with nothing to lose. You have to respect that the Gators can make some plays.
And let's go back to those 46 carries. That was something we talked to Derrick Henry about earlier this week during the press conference. And Derrick Henry said, just give me the football. I don't care. I'll rest when it's time to rest. I'll go to bed when the game's over.
He doesn't care, but his coaching staff does because they're smart. They don't want to have their Hoss running back carry it 46 times. Wait, do the math. That's 92 carries. We're pretty good at math here on this show. But Derrick Henry's doing things even his teammates are amazed at. And this is Alabama. That's hard to do, to make these players amazed. 46 in the Iron Bowl, that was a school record. Question now becomes, how many does he get tomorrow? Will he need that many? And will he be able to handle that brutal load 2 weeks in a row?
I mean, I knew we'd had a lot of plays. We'd been running a lot of plays. I think towards the fourth quarter, I was like, yeah, we've been out there for a while. But I really didn't realize it until we got in the locker room and someone said, he had, I'm not sure how many rushes he had, but 271 yards or something like that.
So lots of positives going for Alabama with Derrick Henry, but you look at the other side and it's hard to ignore what's going on with Kirby Smart. The big question now becomes, is he going to stay for a bowl or playoff game? Is he going to leave on Sunday? So many questions with that. But Alabama, give them credit, they've been pretty even-keeled about the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to imagine there's a lot of emotion going to this. And the big question, who's going to replace Kirby Smart when he leaves here? But Nick Saban, he's good at recruiting players. He's good at recruiting coaches. Kirby Smart, though, has left his imprint on the defense here at Alabama. This is his defense. And you heard McElwain say this week, it's not the front seven. It's more like the front 30. Those guys rotating in and out. Nick Saban, he got a tad bit emotional today when talking about his DC.
He's sound in how he goes about the things that we do, and we've worked together for a long, long time. And he's as good an assistant coach and as loyal assistant coach as I've ever had on my staff.
Now, here are the numbers. What's crazy is Alabama's defense ranked 45th when Saban first arrived at Alabama. Enter Kirby Smart, and the Tide's S&P ranking has never been higher than 7th and has been first 3 of those years.
Yeah, talking about replacing him, secondary coach Mel Tucker, Georgia's defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt, plenty of guys, where's Will Muschamp going to go? Gene Chiswick's
in the mix.
Been put in the mix as well, so plenty of names out there for Alabama. All right, time for a break. We are going to come back with plenty more to get to, especially the high school ranks over in Tuscaloosa. Leeds, could they win their second straight state championship? And what about Clay Chalkville? Chris Wrinkle has an update coming up in a little bit. Taking a break here on the Red Zone Friday night. We'll be right back. The 4A state championship game, Leeds and Fayette County. Leeds can win its second straight title, and running back Trey Nation, he made sure they got it. How about this young man and what he did today? 5
touchdowns, 3 of those in the first half alone, and that sparked the blowout. Leeds manhandles Fayette County in the title game. Your final score, 55-7. And I've got to tell you, I just absolutely love that name. Trey Nation is a really cool name. I might have to.
Where is he going to go to college? That's a big question, too. 6A state championship game just finished up moments ago. 2 serious powerhouses. Clay Chalkville, defending champs, going up against a big, notorious powerhouse in Spanish Fort. Chris Wrinkle is live there now to tell us how it finished.
Clay Chalkville has been unbeatable the last 2 seasons. I mean that literally. Their last loss, November 15th, 2013. It's been over 2 years since they last lost the game. And in 2013, when they didn't make the state finals, who won other than Spanish Fort? So a square off between the last two champions of the 6A class. And boy, the fireworks were flying at Bryant-Denny Stadium tonight as we get straight to the highlights. And it's going to be Spanish Fort who comes out swinging first. First quarter, Javon Brown takes the handoff and shows his weaving and running skills through the defense. He's not going to get brought down until the goal line, pretty much in the red zone. Nasty step back by Brown. Spanish Fort jumps out to a 14-0 lead, but then Clay Chalkville, the claws come out. When the Cougars need a big play, they turn to TJ Simmons. Simmons, his first touchdown at Bryant-Denny Stadium. When Nick Saban sees this highlight, he thinks of two words: tin horn. Bama fans got to be excited for this one. Chalkville on the board, it's 14-7. So Simmons going to Alabama. Well, Tyler Johnson's going to UAB in a couple of years when they finally get their program back. He shows off the arm strength, goes over the top to find Brown. The Toros on the move into Clay Chalkville territory, and then the very next play, Johnston getting the UAB fans excited with the corner pass to Brown into the end zone. The Toros go up 31-21, and it looked like it was all over, but time winding down for the Cougars, and Ty Pigrome doing his best Johnny Football impression, evading tacklers, breaking tackles in the backfield. He eventually finds Brandon Berry, who takes it down the sidelines in for the touchdown, but it wasn't enough. 31-28, Spanish Fort wins, and you really cannot fault Clay Chalkville for this one. They fought all the way to the end, and with that, high school football season's officially over. We won't be talking high school football until two-a-days next year. So high school's over, college isn't. Let's send it back to Atlanta. Chris and Lauren.
All right, thank you. Here's the full list of state champions. Maplesville in the 1A, Piedmont 3A, Leeds in the 4A, all from our area. Mortimer Jordan in the 5A, Spain Park in the 7A. They finished state runner-ups. Congrats to all our area teams. And a guy who won a state championship for Hoover way back in the day also played for Alabama. John Parker Wilson did something tonight in Atlanta.
Yeah, and he told me he really enjoys this side of things, the fandom. He doesn't get to see it very often. We go over across town to Smith's Old Bar, the destination packed to the brim with the Tide fans. He played in the 2008 SEC Championship game, knows what's at stake here. So final thoughts here on the show. What are your thoughts on what Alabama needs to do to get this rolling and head to the playoffs?
Was talking to guys like Tim Tebow and Greg McElroy earlier today. They say Treon Harris has to play with nothing to lose. Go out there, have fun. Act like every game, every down is fourth down. Go out there, do what you need to do, and they can maybe be successful.
And I think give Derrick Henry a little bit of help. Maybe you'll see Damian Harris and Bo Scarborough getting some carries tomorrow as well if they can break through.
Now look, folks, 18 points is an awful lot for a spread for an SEC championship game, but that is why they play the game. The Crimson Tide on the line, a shot at the college football playoff. We'll see you tomorrow on the Red Zone pregame show, 11 a.m.